Good day, everyone. Good morning to you, Sir Mariel Andaya. So today, our group will going to discuss about the Secretariat, offices under the Office of the Secretary, the Deputy Secretaries, and Congress of the Philippines. What is Secretariat? The Secretariat is the process of legislation. To begin with, has not been merely confined to the enactment of laws or the passage of legislative proposals or the resolutions, though the latter is considered as its primary function. Congress has likewise performed other equally important functions, such as those flowing from its investigative and oversight power. So, the Secretariat mentioned likely refers to the administrative staff that helps Congress do all these things, not just passing laws, but also investigating and overseeing the government. They also handle paperwork, organize meetings, and generally keep things running smoothly. Next is the offices under the Office of the Secretary. Among the offices directly under the supervision of the Senate Secretary are the following. Number 1, the Senate Tax Study and Research Office, or the STSRO. The STSRO conducts studies and formulates reform proposals on tax-related issues, including drafting of the appropriate bill and estimation of revenue impact, conducts surveys on tax and other fiscal matters, and provides technical assistance during deliberation on tax proposals. On the other hand, the Senate Tax Study and Research Office, or the STSRO, is like a team of experts who help the Senate understand and improve tax laws. Also do 3 main things. Number 1, study and propose changes. They research tax issue, figure out what's wrong, and suggest better ways to do things. This includes writing actual bills to propose changes to the tax system. Example, they might study how the current tax system affects small businesses and propose a new bill to lower taxes for small businesses to help them grow. Number 2, they conduct surveys. They ask people questions about taxes to understand how people feel about them and what problems they face. Example, they might conduct a survey to find out how the current tax system affects low-income families and use that information to propose changes. Number 3, they help during debates. When the Senate discusses tax proposals, the SSRO provides information and advice to help senators make informed decisions. Example, if a senator is unsure about the impact of a proposed tax cut, the SSRO can provide data and analysis to help them understand the potential consequences. Basically, the STSRO is there to make sure the Senate has the best information possible when making decisions about taxes. They are the experts who do the research and provide advice. Now, let's proceed to the number 2 offices under the Office of the Secretary, which is the Protocol Office. The Protocol Office takes charge of important external and internal activities of the Senate that may involve the visits of foreign dignitaries and the members of the Senate in official missions abroad. On the other hand, the Senate Protocol Office is like the Senate's event planner and travel agent, but for very important events and trips. They also handle all the details for visits from important people. When important people from other countries, like foreign dignitaries, visit the Senate, the Protocol Office makes sure everything goes smoothly. This includes arranging meetings, transportation, security, and even things like when they'll sit, where they will sit, and what they'll eat. Example, if the President of France visits the Senate, the Protocol Office arranges the meetings with the Senate President, ensures security, and coordinates all the logistics of the visit. Next is the Senate trips abroad. When senators go on official trips to other countries, the Protocol Office plans everything. This includes arranging visas, flights, accommodations, meetings with officials in the other country, and making sure the senators have everything they need. For example, if a group of senators is going to a conference in Japan, the protocol office books their flights, hotels, arranges meetings with Japanese officials, and handles all the travel details. In short, the protocol office makes sure that all official events and trips involving the Senate run smoothly and represent the Senate in a professional and respectful manner. They handle the details so the senators can focus on their work. And lastly, for the offices under the Office of the Secretary is the Policy Studies Group and the Legislative Budget Research and Monitoring Office, or the LBRMO. The LBRMO coordinates with the House of Representatives and the Department of Budget and Management of the implementations of General Appropriation Act. Reviews the performance of the national government's revenue, collection and expenditure, assesses the implementation of foreign assisted projects and locally funded projects, and responds to queries of agencies, LGUs, and GOCCs on matters within the purview of the Committee on Finance. On the other hand, the Legislative Budget Research and Monitoring Office, or the LBRMO, is like a team of financial detectives and advisors for the Senate. They keep an eye on how the government spends money and make sure things are done correctly. Here's what they do. Watching the money. They check how the government spends the money approved in the General Appropriations Act, or the GAA, the yearly budget. They make sure the money is used for what it was intended. Example, the LBRMO might check if the money allocated for building new schools is actually being used to build schools and not something else. Number 3, they check revenue and spending. They also do the spending. Number 2, checking revenue and spending. They look at how much money the government collects, taxes, and etc., and how it's spent. They make sure everything is accounted for and makes sense. Example, they might analyze tax collection data to see if the government is collecting enough revenue or if there are areas where more money could be collected. They might also check if government spending is efficient. Next is following up projects. They keep track of government projects, both those funded by other countries or foreign assisted and those funded by the Philippines or locally funded. They make sure that the projects are completed on time and within budget. Example, they might monitor the progress of a road construction project funded by a local from another country or a new hospital built with Philippine money. Number 4, they also answer questions. They answer questions from government agencies, local governments or LGUs, and government-owned and controlled corporations or GOCCs about the budget and related financial matters. For example, if a local government has a question about how to use funds allocated to them in the GAA, they can contact the LBRMO for clarifications. That's it for the Secretariat and the offices under the Office of the Secretary. So now, let's proceed to the next topic, the Deputy Secretaries and the Congress of the Philippines, which will be discussed by my groupmate.
The Deputy Secretary for Legislation. The Office of the Deputy Secretary for Legislation advises and assists the Office of the Secretary and the Senate proper in the formulation of legislation, policies, and programs of the Senate. It exercises general supervision over all offices and units of the Secretariat that provides technical, plenary committee support and support services, publication and printing, and reference services. It is also responsible for the provision of legislative services in support of various committee needs, research services, parliamentary counseling, requests for bill drafting, bill indexing and monitoring, and other activities involved in lawmaking process. These are the functions and examples of the Deputy Secretary of the Legislation of the Philippines. Number 1, drafting legislation, legislative drafting and review. One of the primary functions of the Deputy Secretary Secretary of Legislation is to assist in drafting legislation. This involves researching existing laws. The deputy must understand the current laws and regulation to ensure the new proposals are The deputy must understand the current laws and regulations to ensure that the new proposals are consistent with the existing legal frameworks. Drafting bills, they may be tasked with writing bills or amendments, ensuring clarity, legality, and alignment with policy objectives. Number 3, reviewing proposals. The deputy reviews proposed legislation from various stakeholders, including the government agencies, NGOs, and private entities, providing feedback on legal implications. For example, if a new environmental law is proposed, the Deputy Secretary would analyze the existing environmental regulations to draft a bill that addresses gaps while still ensuring compliance with national policies. Number 2, coordination with legislative bodies. The Deputy Secretary plays a crucial role in liaising between executive departments and legislative bodies such as Congress. This includes facilitating communications. They ensure that there is effective communications between lawmakers and executive branches officials regarding legislative priorities. Number 2, providing technical assistance. The deputy may provide technical expertise during congressional hearings or discussions about expanding legislation. For example, during budget deliberations, the deputy secretary might coordinate meetings between department heads and legislators to clarify budgetary needs and justifications for funding requests. And number 3, policy analysis recommendation. Another significant function involves analyzing proposing legislation potentials and impacts on public policy. This includes evaluating legal implications. They are assessing how new laws will affect existing legal structures and societal norms. Making recommendation based on their analysis, they may recommend changes to proposed bills or suggest alternative approaches to achieve policy goals. For example, if a bill aimed at increasing tax rates is introduced, the Deputy Secretary would analyze its potential economic impact and suggest modification based on the fiscal studies. And number 4, advocacy for legislative initiatives. The Deputy Secretary often advocates for specific legislative initiatives aligned with the government priorities. This involves promoting key policies, which they may lead efforts to promote certain laws that reflect governmental objectives or respond to pressing social issues. Engaging stakeholders, building coalitions among various stakeholders to support legislative initiatives is also part of their advocacy work. For example, in promoting healthcare reforms, the Deputy Secretary might organize forums involving health professionals, community leaders, and legislators to build support for comprehensive health legislations. And lastly, number 5, monitoring legislative developments. Keeping track of the ongoing legislative activities is essential for informed decision-making within government agencies. The responsibilities include tracking bills' progress, monitoring which bills are being discussed in the Congress or local legislators, ensures timely response from relevant departments. Assessing potential challenges, identifying potential obstacles in passing legislation laws for proactive strategies to address them. For example, if a controversial bill regarding land use is gaining traction in Congress, the Deputy Secretary would monitor its progress closely to prepare appropriate responses from the affected agencies. In summary, the role of the Deputy Secretary of Legislations encompasses a wide range of functions critical for effective governance in the Philippines, from drafting legislations to advocating for policies and monitoring developments within the legislative bodies. This position serves as a vital link between lawmaking process and executive actions. The Deputy Secretary for External Affairs. The Deputy Secretary for External Affairs and Relations advises and assists the Senate Secretary in the formulation and implementation of external affairs and relation policies and programs of the Senate. This office aims to institutionalize an efficient system of networking and interaction with its external environment, such as the executive branch, the academe, the private sector, NGOs, and national and international organizations, diplomatic corps, and parliamentary organizations. These are the functions of the Deputy Secretary for External Affairs of the Philippines. Number 1, diplomatic representation. One of the primary functions of the Deputy Secretary for External Affairs is to present the Philippines in diplomatic discussions and negotiations. This includes attending international conferences, bilateral meetings, and multilateral forums where the Philippine interests are at stake. The Deputy Secretary often acts on behalf of the higher officials, such as the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, especially in situations where their presence is not possible. For example, in 2023, during a regional summit on climate change, the Deputy Secretary represented the Philippines to discuss commitments to reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainable development practices among ASEAN nations. Number 2, policy development. The Deputy Secretary plays a crucial role in formulating foreign policy strategies that aligns with national interest. This involves analyzing global trends, assessing risks, and proposing initiatives that enhance diplomatic relations with other countries. For example, the Deputy Secretary was instrumental in developing a new policy framework aimed at strengthening ties with Pacific Island nations, focusing on trade agreements and environmental corporations. Number 3, coordination with other government agencies. To ensure a cohesive approach to external affairs, the Deputy Secretary coordinates with various government agencies involved in international relations, including defense, trade, and economic departments. This collaboration helps create unified positions on issues affecting national security and economic interests. Example, in preparations for negotiations on a free trade agreement with a major trading partner, the Deputy Secretary coordinated efforts between the DFA and the Department of Trade and industry to align strategies and objectives. Number 5, public diplomacy. The role also encompasses public diplomacy initiatives aimed at enhancing the Philippines' image abroad. This involves engaging with foreign media, cultural exchanges, and promoting tourism through various outreach programs. Example: the Deputy Secretary launched an initiative showcasing Filipino culture at a international arts festival to foster goodwill and strengthen cultural ties with other nations. Number 6, reporting and analysis. The Deputy Secretary is also responsible for preparing reports on international developments that may impact Philippine foreign policy. These analyses help inform decision-making process at higher levels within the DFA. Example: following significant geopolitical shift in Southeast Asia, the Deputy Secretary compiled on an extensive report detailing potential implications for Philippine security interest, which was presented to senior officials for strategic planning. In summary, the functions of the Deputy Secretary for External Affairs encompasses diplomatic representation, policy development and interagency coordination, crisis management, public diplomacy initiatives, and reporting on international developments. Each function plays a vital role in shaping how the Philippines engages with other countries in various forms.
Deputy Secretary for Administration and Financial Services. The Deputy Secretary for Administration and Financial Services advises and assists the Senate Secretary in the formulation and implementation of administrative and financial policies and programs of the Senate. It provides direction and supervision in the accounting, budget, and cash management, and in the preparation of reports on funds released to the Senate. The Deputy Secretary for Administration and Financial Services is responsible for overseeing the administrative and financial operations of a government department in the Philippines. Key duties include managing budgets, allocating resources, and ensuring compliances with regulations. The Deputy Secretary also handles human resources and logistics, prepares financial reports for leadership, and oversees procurement processes. This role is essential for ensuring efficient departmental functioning and effective use of financial resources. The Senate Legal Counsel. The Deputy Secretary for Administration and Financial Services advises and assists the Senate Secretary in the formulation and implementation of administrative and financial policies and programs of the Senate. It provides direction and supervision in the accounting, budgeting, and cash management, and in the preparation of reports on funds released to the state. The Senate Legal Counsel in the Philippines serves as the chief legal advisor to the Senate, providing legal guidance on legislative matters, assisting in drafting bills and resolutions, representing the Senate in legal proceedings, conducting legal research to inform decision-making, and offering training and support to Senate staff to ensure that all legislative activities comply with the law.
Consists of 24 senators, with half elected every 3 years, for the total terms of 6 years. Senators are elected at large, meaning they do not represent specific geographical districts. In the current 19th Congress, there are 316 seats in the House of Representatives, which is capped at 250 unless modified by law. At least 20% of the House must be sectoral representatives. Initially, there were 200 districts when the Constitution was drafted, leaving 50 seats for the party list representatives. As now, the number of districts has increased to 253, leading to more party list seats due to 1:4 ratio requirement. District representative serves specific congressional district which can conclude province and cities. For instance, a province might have one district, while a city like Manila could have multiple districts to ensure adequate representation. Party list representatives focus on minority sector such as labor unions, rights groups, ensuring these groups have a voice in Congress. Congress meets annually starting on the fourth Monday of July, with sessions lasting until 30 days before the next session. Special session may be called by the President for urgent matters.